Hi, friends, and welcome to All the Things TV, where we discuss full living and go-getting with the grace and gifts God gives. I'm Tiffany Jo Baker, and today I have with me LaVal Ezell, one of my friends from way back. Hi, LaVal. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So LaVal and I met, oh goodness, I don't know, 12 years ago, something like that, when our babies were babies. Our children
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten, yeah. Charter school. Her son, best friends with my daughter, the cutest little fun little duo pair, running around recess and at lunch, and we drove each other's kids, carpooled and all that good stuff. So I've just enjoyed watching LaVal and her family over the years, even though we moved away, not far, but moved. So LaVal, so if you all have not met or seen LaVal online, let me kind of just share with you about LaVal. LaVal is a respected certified life coach, a sisterhood strategist, motivational speaker, and blogger. She loves healthy friendships among women and birthed a movement called Striving in Sisterhoods. She does workshops and speaking events and conferences here in Texas and in the surrounding states. She also does something called the Sister Sit and Chat Experience for self-discovery, relationship strategies, and different levels of friendship. I just love all that.
Yeah.
All that. So how did your journey evolve and lead towards something being called a Sisterhood Strategist?
It's amazing that I look back from the very beginning. When I was in, I want to say 5th grade, I always wanted a really good friend, like a solid friend. And so, it started way back in 5th grade. I had my first solid friend. She lived next door. We did everything together. We even had our windows were we lived in a townhouse. And our windows were like this, and we would open the windows and talk across the windows. It was just weird. We even shared the same wall in the townhouse. So anyway, built a friendship from there. And I really feel like that's where the seed was definitely planted in my heart, that friendship was very special. And it's something that changes your life if you have the opportunity to have it. And so I never really knew why I had that desire. And guess what? That friend moved to California, by the time we were going to middle school. So it was kind of heartbreaking, but I was able to stay in contact due to that seed. I was able to stay in contact with that friend, even through the move. It was I was determined. This was my first friend. I'm going to keep it,
Yep.
So anyway, the seed was sown. As I began to mature, moved to Texas, and really just started developing my relationship with God. And so because I moved away from home, I still needed solid people in my life as a young woman to pour into me. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I really didn't find that. And so the thing that God placed into my heart, he's like, you need to be what you desire. So he just started grooming me to be kind of we think about the Titus woman, but I was like the Titus sister, which I think is the same thing. It's just, we look at it, we think about old women when we think about the Titus woman, sometimes in our day, but it really is a reflection of sisterhood as well. And so what happened is that I ended up having relationships with different women. And God was really speaking to me that you should be learning something from every relationship that you have. And so it started there. And then over the years, I wanted to get together and encourage my friends. And, we would get together and just have small get-togethers. And I've been doing this for over 15 years. And then I realized that it was a ministry that God has given me.
Yeah.
So it happened naturally. I didn't even know what it was. I think God gave me the name Striving in Sisterhood probably about 5 years ago, maybe. And so I'd already been doing it. I'd already been operating in another capacity with another lady. It was kind of like a women's ministry, but I was the person that really brought sisterhood to that movement. So it just continued.
I love that. You know, one of my mentors talks about finding that thread throughout your life that God uses. And like you said, it's never one of that, like, boom, here's your call, here's your purpose, here's one of your gifts. It's like when you can look back and see how those dots were connected over your life and how God used you. You know, for me, I was like, being a surrogate, I was like, okay, God, how does this play? Like, how does this work? And he was like, okay, here's the thread. You're a dream carrier. You help women birth their dreams and come alongside them to take some of that weight and to encourage them and to do it. So there's always like this thread. And I saw that throughout my life. So I just love how your story of you and your friend sharing a wall in the townhouse, that is just so precious, and how God just kept putting that on your heart, the need for friendship, relationship, sisterhood.
Yeah. And it has continued even up until now. It's like God continually teaches me about friendships. And I'm like, God, am I ever going to get out of not that I want to, but I'm like, where is this leading to?
We are working in progress,
now
aren't
it's
we?
one of those things that when people see me, that's the first thing that comes to mind. And so I know that that's from God because it's been consistent.
Absolutely. So how has sisterhood impacted you personally?
Personally, it has helped build me as a woman. And I feel like you have to live what God is anointing you to share, because it won't be real unless you yourself have grown from it and evolved from it and had support from it. So I really feel like after I left home, all of these relationships taught me something brand new, or gave me more confidence in who God was calling me to be. And that's what sisterhood is about. Is about it. When you connect with someone, they should have an impression on you and leave you to a point where I didn't know that about myself. Yeah. Or you glean from the other relationship like, oh, I love that attribute about her. Where is that in me? You know, so I feel like over the course of my life, with the really close friendships that I've built, every woman left something special in my heart.
So, LaVal, what is it?
Good, bad, or ugly. Sometimes
sometimes
it's ugly, but sometimes a part of you is exposed that God wants to reshape.
Well, what is it about you that you chose to have those differences be something that you valued? You know, right now, diversity is really big as far as, I mean, it's always really big, but there's a major focus right now happening with diversity and racism and all the things that are happening in our world today and being highlighted. What is it about you that you chose to see diversity and difference as a gift?
Good question. I always see someone's heart before I see color or their race or their, other cultures and things like that. I feel like that's just something that God gave me because we have to have a heart of accepting, first of all, ourselves and being confident in ourselves. And I feel like he used the season, even when I moved away from home, I had to discover me. Yeah. I'm a PK, so I grew up in the church, and, it's just a lot of different mindsets you get that sometimes are wrong. Yeah. And so finding my own way helped me to be open to receiving a variety of relationships. And my parents made sure that I was exposed to all cultures. And so that did help as a child, that I wasn't sheltered only in my own community. My mother was a school teacher at Montessori. And so it was very diverse, even in Montessori. And so it probably started in childhood because I was exposed to diversity. And then it wasn't a big deal for me, even as I began to mature. But there's value in everyone. And so if you don't see that, you're not going to grow, and you're not going to be, you're not going to make a difference and have impact in the world.
Yeah.
And so I just began to see that that was very valuable.
And I love what you said at the beginning. You said you look at the person's heart first, because we all get it wrong, right? There's rough edges to all of us, in our differences, in our uniqueness, in our relationships. But if you can go in marriage, in parenting, in friendships and sisterhood, if you can go to knowing that their heart is good, they may have just sucked at communicating it or showing it or sharing it. But if you can go back to their heart is good, it takes away frustration. It can take away offense. And it opens the door to be able to have a conversation with them for change and for awareness.
Yeah. And definitely awareness. Definitely awareness, because if you're open to having a conversation, to learn, to receive, then you'll walk away like, wow, you'll walk away with more to think about and embrace. And the next person that you come in contact with, you will be better because you took out the time to get to know their heart.
So powerful. You said something earlier that I wanted to pull out. You said something about having self-esteem and self-worth first to be able to then have healthy, positive relationships, was how I took it. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
That is one thing that God definitely gave me in my process. So in my process, I had to accept the way that God created me. And be okay with that and be settled, For me, I've always been the quiet wallflower and didn't say much. And matter of fact, I had to learn that I had a voice. And, even from childhood, I had very strong personalities as far as parents, my mother and my father. And so I really felt like I didn't have a voice, and I had to find my voice, and I had to, be okay. If I had this subtle, mellow demeanor, we always want the opposite of who God really has created us to be. And we just have to find that sweet spot as far as, okay, who I am, my personality, the way I am, is too hard if I try to change it. So let me just rest in it. If God says, one of the scriptures that God brought to me, because I'm so mellow and because I'm, I won't say I'm soft-spoken, but I will say that I speak when it's necessary. And what does the scripture say? Basically being slow to speak.
Like quick to listen, slow to speak.
So he helped me to realize that was a virtue.
That's good.
Even if someone else doesn't see it as that, it is a virtue that he treasures, And so I had to be like, okay, I get that, And so just allowing God to unfold the virtues that were in me. Therefore, I'm not looking at someone else's attributes and personalities. And I'm like, I want to be like them. I'm like, no, I have to be me. And I have to be secure in what I bring to the relationship. My husband and I, my husband, we are completely opposites. He's like, woo, the life of the party. And I'm the opposite. And so even in my relationship with my husband, we have learned to complement one another's gifts. And I feel like even in sisterhood, you have to find that place where when God connects you with someone, how are you complementing one another? And learning from one another. And so that's what I feel like God, you have to go through that process so that when you do go into those relationships, where the value in you lies, and you're searching for the value in the other person. Because if you're secure in yourself, you're going to go into that relationship wanting to give your authentic self, not someone, pretending to be someone else. If you go in a relationship pretending, it's not going to work. And so self-worth, it inspires sisterhood, Because unless you know who you are, you're going to go into a relationship pretending to be someone else. And then a year later, then they're going to be like, I don't recognize you anymore because you didn't come into the friendship authentic. And maybe if you don't know what that looks like, it's never too late to start. God will send you people that will walk with you as you as he uncovers that for you. And I feel like even with sisterhood, we don't come into the relationship perfect. He begins to mold us as we have an open heart to connect with another person that's going to help us, because God does not want us to be alone, especially for women. We need communication. We need just that camaraderie. We need to be able to lay out our emotions sometimes. And we understand that better than, if we were to go talk to our husband or our boyfriend. And so a lot of women have had bad relationships, but that's basically because they went into the relationship expecting something that was not realistic. Mm-hmm. And maybe they went into the relationship not knowing who they were and not being authentic. And so you just get a mess.
A mess. It's so powerful. I loved how you said for us, we have to be settled with our self-worth first before we can see the value in somebody else and what they offer, and that's like the cure to comparison. Yeah. Is having that self-worth first. I remember dropping Trinity off at kindergarten. Mm-hmm. Josiah was there, and all the moms, and I'm going to generalize, all the moms that I saw were mm-hmm. crying because it's the first day of kindergarten. Right. And I walk in and I'm like wanting to have pom-poms. And I'm like, what? And then I saw everyone else crying and I'm like, oh shoot, I am a horrible mother. And I started comparing myself and thinking, what is wrong with me? And then I started crying because I'm thinking there's something wrong with me. Yeah. Trinity and I were just ready, he was ready to tackle the world. Firstborn daughter.
I think we had that conversation because I'm like, I was like, I was like, hey, I'm not that mom.
No, but we can so easily see something in somebody else and be like, I'm horrible, or I wish I was like that, or there's something wrong with me because I can't be like that. But like what you said is finding those things that are virtuous and unique and different and giftings within us. Yeah. Well, LaVal, this has been so amazing. I'm going to have you come back. I want to do a part 2, but thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
So powerful. Well, friends, that's another episode of All the Things TV. I'm Tiffany Jo Baker, helping you fuel and fulfill your faith journey through the ups and downs with small wins, simple strategies, and successful relationships. Now go do all that you've been called to do with the grace and the gifts that God's given you.